So we're going to do a little switcheroo of the schedule today, and we're actually going to invite Mike back up to talk about wellness policies. Thank you so much.
I thought you were done with me.
Not yet.
See if I can keep track here. All right. Hello. Okay. We are now moving from competitive foods, which is a piece of the puzzle, to the local school wellness policy, which is sort of the overall Bible of your school for wellness and health. We will be talking about, and again, I'm speaking to the choir on a lot of this, but I'm going to go into rules and regs because that's what I do. But it's always good to kind of start the foundation by making the case why our wellness policy is important. A little bit of the history, because I've been through all of the history. My beard proves it. Requirements. Excuse me, so that we'll do a pretty deep dive into each of the requirements so you can make sure that your current wellness policies meet what's required. Talk a little briefly about the triennial assessment. Do more AR stuff because that's so wonderful. And the activity will kind of center around some of the challenges that you guys are having, because I know it's a very challenging area. And to have you share, and then we'll kind of come back together. So we'll do that. And then, of course, we always have resources, and we'll open it up to questions. So why local school wellness policies? We need to promote student health. It's interesting, the childhood obesity issue, and I think Doreen talked about that a little bit earlier. Not as big of an issue today because we have a lot of other things that we're worrying about as well. But that was really one of the impetuses of why the federal government added this requirement way, way back. Young people spend 6 hours, 8 hours under your care. Okay, so they are a captive audience for one, and the majority of their day is spent with you all. And as we know, there's a huge connection between well-nourished child and learning, right? That's been very well established. So these are kind of some of the whys. What are some of the benefits of you as a district creating this intentionality? Okay. Your district shows that it is important when you have a school board adopted wellness policy. The intention there is that that the district is going to follow through with what that policy states. And what it ensures is that the policy becomes sustainable. Is turnover an issue for anybody? That was a rhetorical question. What's that? Finally, not right now. Oh, good. So, as we know, community members will come and go. Staff will come and go. Administrators will come and go. If you have a strong, developed, approved, accepted policy, that stays. So people coming in will relearn that. I did want to ask before I started, and I'll ask today, how many of you are less than 5 years in schools or your district? Less than 5 years? A few. Less than 10 years? Okay. 15? Okay. Anybody around in 2004? Hey, that's when wellness policies were first created. We'll get to that. It provides collaboration benefits, all right? It requires you to reach out to your community and get that community involvement. We talk about school partners, administrators. So again, it's this coming together. This is the model that you are all showing today, is this coming together of the folks that are interested, the folks that can make change at the same table and get consensus on what changes need to be made. And again, buy-in at the beginning encourages implementation at the end. It's so easy to sit in a back room and just write it. Done. But there's not going to be very much buy-in. Okay, I think we kind of talked a little bit about this. So I talked a little bit about consensus. Very important. You got to front load this stuff. You got to bring people on board, because if you make the rule and then tell everybody they need to follow it, what are you going to get? A lot of pushback. Okay? It is a lot of work to do the consensus building. One of the other benefits of this policy is it's extensive and it's comprehensive, but you don't have to do everything all at once. And we actually encourage you not to do everything all at once. We encourage you to focus on those areas, pick the low-hanging fruit first, because that's the easiest, implement some of that, and then bring your community and your school along for the other areas. And then accountability is another benefit. Okay? It holds people accountable for what they do in their classroom, in their cafeteria, in the halls, okay, in the offices. History. That's why I brought this up a little earlier. So the Child Nutrition and WIC Reauthorization Act, that is a federal law, and they're supposed to pass one every 5 years. They don't. But in 2004 is when the first requirement for local school wellness policies came about. And so it mandated that any school or district on National School Lunch or school breakfast must adopt a local school wellness policy. And at that point, there were minimal requirements. You had to have goals for nutrition ed, physical activity, an other category. You have to have nutrition standards for foods sold, and an implementation plan. It didn't say you have to implement the plan. It said you had to create the plan. Where do you think most of your policies ended up? On the shelf, okay? Then, fast forward to 2010, Child Nutrition and WIC Reauthorization Act, affectionately known as, which is a term you guys probably know, the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act. Same thing. It added a lot of new requirements. So it added nutrition promotion, more rigorous nutrition standards, a stronger implementation and more transparency, more sharing out with your community. And then it added the AR piece to that puzzle. So from that law, it stated, it pointed to the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, to say, okay, we've created sort of a framework for wellness policies. Now you create the detail. And so that's what the USDA did. And that happened in 2016 with their rules. And this is kind of where we are today. Not much has changed. So in 2016, the USDA created requirements. So you had to have now guidelines on food and beverage marketing, standards for foods given away, new at that point. And then you have to do an annual update and the assessment. So again, and sharing all of that out with your community. So a lot more requirements, a lot more work on your part. So we'll go through the various requirements, and you can kind of measure this to your current policy. So you have to have measurable goals for student wellness, and I'll get into those in more detail. Nutrition guidelines for all foods and beverages available on campus, so those that are sold and those that are given away. And then marketing, we just mentioned. Identification of someone that is in authority that oversees, that's responsible for this. Ideally, it should be your superintendent, somebody with the authority to make change or to point fingers, okay? Public involvement, you have to have particular language in your policy that talks about how you're going to invite the public into this process. And then you have to have an annual update to show your community what things have changed and kind of how well you're doing. And then the big piece is this triennial assessment. That means every 3 years. It's a word that trips us up still. And make all of that available to the public. Okay, so specific goals for student wellness. We have nutrition education, nutrition promotion, physical activity, and then what this other school-based health activities are. Nutrition ed, we've talked a lot about nutrition ed today. Thank you. And you should have at least one specific goal for nutrition education. And our definition, and again, this can be debated to a certain degree, but it's a continuum of learning experiences to develop knowledge skills that become lifelong healthy eating habits. How do you do this in your wellness policy? You can find a standard-based health ed program or even a nutrition ed text program. You can integrate nutrition into other subjects. How many of you have school gardens? Great. How many of you work directly with farmers? Great. Okay, all of these are nutrition ed related activities. Classroom cooking is another one. Okay, and then, so what I like to point out as I kind of walk through this is it is not as daunting as it seems, because if your district isn't ready to implement nutrition ed, focus on another area. Start building the capacity. Okay, start building the consensus for nutrition ed. I find out of all the requirements that the wellness policy makes you do or requires, this is more of a challenging one. Okay. Nutrition promotion. You have to have at least one goal for that. And again, promotion is you increase activities, increase awareness of good nutrition practices throughout your campuses. Some examples of that could be posters, newsletters, social media, taste testing, nutrition assemblies, doing some marketing at your back to school nights. How many of you do health fairs? Okay, so there's a lot of opportunities to do nutrition promotion throughout the school year on all of your campuses. Another requirement is a goal for physical activity. And it's not, and I think it's purposeful, they purposefully didn't say physical education. Now, I don't think not every state even has PE requirements. We do, but activity. And so the definition of physical activity is really movement of the body, a lot of stuff that we've been doing today, whereas PE is more learning-based. So there are standard courses that develop physical skills for life. We encourage you to look at this idea as PE, but if you are integrating physical activity throughout your campuses, that meets the requirement, and maybe that's the easier thing to do now, okay? So, classroom energizers, we got lots of tips and tricks for that today. Recess. How many of you have recess before lunch? Not very many. Okay, yeah. Again, something that could potentially be promoted, and we understand changing a school day is like moving a mountain. We understand that. Intramural activities, and of course, so physical activity, they say get at least 60 minutes a day, and you can do a lot of that with the kids throughout their day. And then there's this other. So you have to have at least one goal for what's called the other category. And these are different things. So this may look familiar to you all, and I don't know if this will be discussed a little bit tomorrow. This is called the WISC model, the whole school, whole child, whole classroom. I always get the C's mixed up. Whole community, okay, model. And so there are 11 different health-related issues. So we talked a lot about staff wellness. If that's an important topic for you in your district, you can create a goal on that. Excuse me. Is it health services? Is it social-emotional learning? Okay, so you can kind of pick and choose what that other is. And again, think through what your district wants, what your district needs, what your district is capable of implementing. Standards for foods and beverages sold. We talked a lot about that already. So this would include your meal programs, so your school lunch, school breakfast, after school, supper, and then competitive foods. Okay, and again, well, I think I'll talk about that a little later. So again, I talked a little bit about that. So remember, the federal competitive food standards are called Smart Snacks. California does not have a name for it, but they live in our education code and our regulations. So we already have a great foundation for competitive foods. You already have a great foundation for school meal requirements. So that's kind of a pick it up and add it to your wellness policy. Now we have foods and beverages provided. So again, standards must be established. There are no state or federal requirements for foods given away. So this is totally local district discretion and control. Okay, and I want to kind of stop for a minute. There was a great article that came out last week through San Luis Obispo, I can't remember, but it highlighted a number of districts that have been working on their wellness policies, and they focused on the area of foods provided. So, Lucia Mar? Yeah. Woo! Great job, you guys. San Miguel, they represented here? Yay, okay. San Luis Coastal? Is Pastor Robles here? Yay, yay. Atascadero? Yay. Templeton? I don't even know where Templeton is. Okay. And then, so you folks were highlighted in the article for this area. I also want to thank Goleta because I was looking through your newsletter and you guys have a great page on that as well. So food's given away, even though there aren't any requirements for it, that seems to be an area that people are really kind of trying to focus on. It seems like an area that you can accomplish with your consensus, with your building of education and so forth. So great job on that. Keep that going. And we'll talk a little bit more about the language that you guys used in your policies. And there is no right or wrong language, by the way, okay? All right. So we have foods and beverages that are given away. Classroom celebrations is probably the biggest. Food as a reward. You get a pizza party with the principal. You get coupons, and then you get to exchange the coupons for something later. And again, consistent messaging through all of your wellness policy is key. Okay, why would you have strict rules for the item that's sold, but if it's given away, it's fine? Okay, doesn't sound very consistent to me. Food and beverage marketing is another requirement. Unfortunately, we have federal and state requirements that you can pick up and move right into your wellness policy. So it's advertising and other promotions of the sale or giveaway of foods and beverages. And it talks about oral, written, or graphic statements. So some marketing examples some of them I think we touched on earlier. So any prizes or incentive programs that give food away. Advertising on cups and placements, on equipment, posters and flyers, gift cards. Basically, even though the item may be consumed or even purchased off of and away from school campus, so let's say you have a gift card. I can go bring this to Jamba Juice and exchange it for any Jamba Juice I want. Okay? The food itself is not the issue. It's the marketing of the food that's the issue. Okay? Is that clear? So we don't care about if the food is compliant or not. What we care about is what is that marketing piece that is occurring on campus during the school day. Okay, so now we talk a little bit about creating policy language. So you want to make sure that your wellness policy is comprehensive, includes all the requirements, and maybe even a little bit more, who knows. And again, there is no right or wrong, but there is strongly worded language. If you require something, it's going to need to be done. So strong language such as using using shall, must, will, require, comply, enforce. Those are very strong language. Weak language, should, may, encourage, those kinds of things. And again, no right or wrong. It all depends on where you're at. And I know in the article I read that some of the districts at this point are just encouraging, say, teachers to serve, or even parents to serve healthy items. And that's okay, because if that's where your district is, and if you added the word requirement, everybody would go ballistic. Again, you're not there yet, but you're building to that. Okay. And then and then actually be specific. So your wellness policy is also not the end all be all. From there, you're going to have to drill down to who's going to do it, what are they going to do, where are they going to do it, and when are they going to do it? So it creates the work plan, if you will, of what to fulfill your policy requirements. Okay, so I talked a little bit about this too. Begin with elements that are already required to add to your wellness policy, and then the work is the work. Gaining buy-in from your community, from your school district on changes that you would like to see made, changes that they would like to see made, and so forth. And then again, if you need to increase the strength of your language over time, that is what you do. That is why the wellness policy is designed the way it is. It gives you a lot of flexibility. It's one great thing the USDA thought through. All right, so practice. If I said nutrition ed shall be provided as part of the health education program for elementary schools, is that strong language or weak language? Strong, because it uses the word shall, so it's going to be a requirement. Foods as a reward are prohibited. Strong, yeah. Strong, okay? The district strongly encourages non-food fundraising. It's weak, but it's a start, right? And you can work on that. All right. Policy leadership. So again, you have to designate, or somebody has to step up in your district and say, I am in charge. And so you don't have to name the person, but you have to name the title and position, okay? Contact information is recommended, but I know if there's a parent out there that has an issue or a question, they're gonna find the authority. Okay. Public involvement. So this is a requirement to have language in your wellness policy. How are you going to permit your community members to be part of the process from beginning to end? It doesn't say that you have to have a certain number of parents. It doesn't say you have to have your superintendent on the wellness policy committee. All it says is, how are you working towards making sure that everybody knows and can be included in the process? Okay. So the definition, partner engagement and participation, and again, wellness committees. And we're going to get to the challenges a little later, and I know keeping your wellness committee together is a challenge. Public notification, so every year you have to notify the public on, or first you got to notify how they have to be involved. And then if there are any changes to your policy, you have to make sure that that's transparent. Okay. So you can, in most districts do this through website or social media, emails, back to school nights and other events. The annual updates. Make available to the public the content of your wellness policy. Probably have it on your webpage already. Might be good to check to make sure it's the most updated, because I've seen some, maybe not you guys. So again, how can they be notified? Web pages, newsletters, those kinds of things. And then we are a government, so you have to have a non-discrimination statement, which I think is a good thing. So make sure, and this is something that we kind of look at. This was a later requirement, sorry. And so when we look at policies online, if it doesn't have that, we know it's probably an outdated policy. Yes?
Quick question, do you want the updated non-discrimination statement that removes protections for certain groups of LGBTQ plus people, or should we use the state recommended one that still contains those?
That is a great question. I know. And I am not sure. Yes, I think as long as you have the long one. And my initial thought is go with whatever the current USDA standard is. Okay, I don't really want to have to say that. Yeah, okay. Yes. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about the triennial assessment. So you're supposed to conduct an assessment every 3 years on how you are doing. Because if you don't evaluate how you are doing, you have no idea how you are doing. There's 3 areas that you have to address in your assessment, and that is the extent to which your schools are in compliance with the wellness policy, how your wellness policy compares to a quote-unquote model, and a description of the progress that your schools are, that their schools are meeting the goals of your wellness policy. And again, this information isn't to show us when we come out and do the AR. Okay, it's for you guys to determine how well you guys are doing in implementing what the policy states. Fortunately, under the California Local School Wellness Policy Collaborative website, there is a whole tool on how to move through the triennial assessment step by step, with ideas, with blank forms that you can use. You don't have to use it if you have your own, but again, it gets a little overwhelming to think all this through. Now we get to the AR part, and the AR part is relatively kind, if you will. So if our field reps, when they come in and do the AR, they want to see a current written policy or a link to the webpage. They want to make sure that it is all updated. So it has the non-discrimination statement. It has a date of review and adoption, okay? And then document how you have shared, or your district has shared this with its community. Excuse me. Efforts to review and update the policy, who was involved. So again, keeping agendas, keeping minutes from your meetings and things like that. And again, those are helpful for you. We're just going to ask to look at them. And then the most recent triennial assessment. Okay, I think I'm flying through this today. How am I doing on time? I have lots of time for question and answers. We're doing okay. So just a summary, we have specific and measurable goals in the areas at least of nutrition ed, nutrition promotion, physical activity, and then pick another one. And again, you can have the goal of in 3 years we will be addressing nutrition ed, okay? Or maybe not that, but it doesn't. You don't have to find the nutrition ed textbook tomorrow, okay? You can work towards it. Standards for all foods and beverages sold and for those provided, policies for food and beverage marketing, identification of who leads the wellness effort, public involvement, how you're involving the public, how you notify the public, general of being able to participate, and then how you notify the public based on any assessments that you do. Okay, I want to kind of stop for a minute and now turn it over to you. I want you to, at your groups, at your tables, take about 5 or 10 minutes and talk about some of the challenges that either have occurred in the past or occur currently. And I've given you some ideas. So things that we have heard is keeping your wellness committee together, recruiting for wellness committee members, commitment, again, of your wellness committee, of the requirements that have been passed or adopted by your district, compliance. Again, not everybody's going to buy into this stuff. Not everybody. Setting implementation goals or areas of focus, assessing your environment can be a challenge, evaluating what is going on, and then there's probably others. Okay, so use this kind of as a guide, and again, talk at your tables and come up with some of the challenges, and maybe there's somebody else at your table that will come up with a solution or that already has a solution, and then we'll get together and we'll do some sharing. Go.
This guy's supposed to go to just above 4. started swimming at sport already? I think she just arrived. I saw her talking to somebody. Ask her if she's cool. Doesn't mean there's so much wrong with you. It's me or is there too much wrong with you? I was. We did spots. We're sitting over there, I guess. There's a thing or something.
I might start right now. Really? That's awesome. So cool. Yeah. Who's actually supposed to doing it and then like I was just saying, like, is it even accessible to me?
I did a
Green giant.
I know more about it than other parents, but sometimes I can't believe I can't anymore. People are getting angry. And then, like, all of a sudden, you block it. Obviously, some is working still for some reason. But if you had to shut it yeah, totally. So lovely. I know, it really is. Yeah, the teachers are there. Somebody that's kind of designated to be on it, like one of their things that they're excited to do. Plus they're getting audited. It's not just like a
All right, we will give you 37 more seconds. Sounds like a good number. Okay. I hope there was some lively conversations. I hope there wasn't any crying. Because there are a lot of challenges to this work. It's huge. You need you need to hire a project manager for this kind of work. Who would like to share out some of the challenges that they face in their district with their wellness policy? Okay, everybody being on, yeah. Insufficient communication, okay, and which is difficult. I mean, communication throughout all the various pieces is difficult. Any solutions?
So I suggested kind of getting in front of especially site administrators at the beginning of the school year. I was recently a sitting principal at a middle school, and I didn't know that I broke a policy until the policy was broken.
Right.
And so then somebody would come down and say, well, you can't do that. I'm like, well, why not? And then somebody would quote me a policy. I'm like, well, where is that written? And you may get it, you may not, you know. And so I think that if site leaders had more information at the beginning, when our ASB directors came with their plans or PTA came with their plans, then we would at least have that knowledge base to say yes or no. But what happens is we've already said yes, and the money's already spent, and now everybody expects us to fix it, and we're the people in the middle, and we don't know that, hey, if the state comes down, you're not in compliance, or there's an administrative review, or something to that effect. So I feel like a 5 to 10 minute communication right at the beginning of the school year, just a little slide saying, hey, these are some policies you need to be aware of as your committees begin to plan for the year. I think would really help improve as a whole.
I think that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Did you guys hear that on this side? Okay. Yeah, 5 or 10 minutes. It doesn't take a lot, and communication is key. and difficult. Thanks. Anybody else? Who else? Who else? Yes.
We found that there are a lot of unhealthy items that trickle into our school every morning, especially
Okay.
implement that as part of our policy,
Uh-huh.
this policy, but it's not clear right now. So we're going to do that.
Okay. So the issue is the foods and beverages kind of sort of trickling in and going past people, and you don't know what happens on all your campuses every day, right? And then you walk onto campus and you're all, where'd that food truck come from? Or something like that. Yes. And then how do you address that? Yeah. So how have you guys, is this more food sold or more foods given away or groups? Okay. Oh, so they're not being, so they're just coming on, so they're getting it off of school campus but coming on. Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Okay. And that is a huge challenge. How many of your high school kids do come onto campus? They stop at the coffee shop, at Starbucks or whatever, Pete's, yeah, okay. That's a more challenging issue. I don't know if I'd want to touch that, to be honest. I mean, really what that means is education. I don't think you can prevent foods coming onto campus, because then that means, the student who forgot their lunch and the parent that has to bring it to them, it's kind of the same scenario, and so you have to be careful what you regulate. So, yeah. I mean, for all of this, education is key, right? You continue to show people the whys. Thanks for sharing. Okay, hey, who else? A couple more. Yes.
We talked a lot about involvement, like for the school wellness policy, or meetings, there's usually not too many people there. So it'll be somebody who's more in charge of the whole district than actual schools, and there's not representation from each school, not students or teachers or anything like that. So that's always hard to communicate out to, because they're not getting the information. So one school might be completely different than another school down the street, just based on if they went to the train or to the meeting or not, and
Yes.
how it's been sent out throughout the district.
So not a well-staffed committee, and that is, how many of you have that issue? Yeah, that's one of the bigger ones. And then again, that comes with, promotion and things at the beginning of the school year. And again, you can't make people sit in the chair. Any strategies that folks have used that have kind of, yeah.
Well, we haven't used this yet, but we're hoping this is going to work. We have a brand new position at all of our schools called a wellness coach. So we've asked our administrator if we can please have them required to come to our meetings. So we'll see what happens, but that's what our potential is.
What is their responsibilities or roles at the school site? Okay. I mean, it seems to be a pretty perfect fit, right?
Yeah.
They should be part of the wellness. Okay. That's great. So there's funding.
The wellness coaches are actually tied to behavioral health funding and reimbursement. So, it's something to have a conversation about, because you can make the case and extend the case. But I want to say, if you're not sure about wellness coaches and what's happening in your district, find out, because there's an opportunity there. But it is tied to the dollars from that Children and Youth Behavioral Health Initiative that I mentioned earlier. So think about and explore and talk about what that position actually is. Because I think at face value, they're like, oh, this person's going to be in charge of all wellness, right? They have specific things that they need to do for there to be reimbursement for the district for the position.
Gotcha. Okay. Yes.
This might seem obvious, but pay them. Now, be careful, because out of Fund 13, that I'm not giving a blanket statement, but especially out of Fund 1, or that's something that if we're going to have partners in the district, that would be a cost that not out of Fund 13 would be a nice gesture of partnership to pay teachers or support staff that are not Fund 13.
And pay them for,
to participate on
oh,
wellness committees.
okay.
How do you get them to attend?
Right,
Pay
right,
them.
right. Okay. Yep. Great. Yes.
Just want to give a kudos to Erin. She makes it very accessible by making a Zoom option.
Oh.
It's really hard for teachers to get right out and make it on time to the meeting and other staff. So how do you break down those barriers? And kudos to Erin for
And also ask them, I can't actually pay my friends in public health, also not out of Fund 13 and not using public funds. But ask them, right? How often do we ask our community partner friends to participate? And I really thank them for coming and attending. So sometimes it's just that ask too.
Right, yep, yep. Careful what you ask for, you might get it. But yeah, virtual attendance, you know, make it as easy as possible. Another thing about wellness committees, and if you feel like you don't have good representation, you can always send things out to your districts, to your parents, and get some feedback from them. So it isn't just, you know, the 5 of us thought of it and we think it's a good idea. You know, this school and this school and this school, we sent it out to X amount of folks and administrators, and this is the information that we got back. So that just makes your case, that creates more consensus. One more? Yeah.
I'm really hoping this doesn't come across as a complaint because this room is full of all sorts of different departments and it's really exciting actually, but as 2 representatives from the Nutrition Services Department, one of the things that we struggle with and maybe others can relate is like we're not generally the most respected department, like, and so when we put out a meeting or when we put up, they're like, not interested, not gonna listen to you, why do we have to follow your rules? And so that is a challenge.
Absolutely.
And so I've worked in other districts where it's been pupil services has been in charge, or another department has been in charge, and it's much better attended, much better respected. It's unfortunate, but that's what I found
Sure.
in nutrition services. It's a requirement of our department, but it becomes a challenge because unfortunately, I hate to say the number of parents we don't.
Yeah.
But all you all do, which is why we're here today. But like, there's nobody else from our district. There's, you know.
And you know, that brings up the great point, is that this is not a food service issue. This is a district. This is, shout to the mountains, right? It is, yeah. So, but as we all know, and we've seen, and we live it, oh, it's nutrition, oh, there's an AR component, so it must be yours. Yeah. So it is, and it is difficult as food service when you don't have the backing of a superintendent or assistant soup or whomever, for sure.
So I'm, as an outsider, I'm with Cooperative Extension.
Oh.
You know, I know within our own programming, we have like requirements with our one of our grants where we do have to have these like regular collaborative meetings quarterly. And what we've done like over the years is there have been like rebrands and different names applied to them. And I'm wondering, has anybody in this room, has anybody tried or heard of like somebody, because I feel like wellness committee kind of has this like nuance to it now, and maybe people don't feel like some sort of connection or importance to it. So like, has anyone tried like a rebrand or a rename, or, because we've done that amongst the counties where almost every county has like its own name now, but it's all CNAC. That's what the grant requirement is. So that's just a thought I had. I don't know. Maybe worth a shot. If you try it, please follow up with me. I'd love to hear how it went. That helps.
Great idea. That's a new one for me. A good idea. You know, marketing is important.
It is like a super important name.
Right. Yeah. You must attend. Call it that. Okay. You know, and again, I think maybe one of the last points is what we've also found is that you kind of have to start over at the beginning every year. We used to think, oh, you know, we've done the we've done the Wellness Policy 101 stuff, so now we can move forward to the next step. But it's a new year. We have new people on board. We have different people on board. So it may feel repetitive, but it's getting everybody on the same page at the same time at the beginning to see what you can accomplish in that school year. Because it goes by fast, right? It goes by very fast. Yeah. Yeah, please.
I've seen great success with adding students to the wellness committees. I know that was mentioned earlier as a suggestion. Invite the student council, maybe come to a meeting or have them share their input on what they're seeing in the school environment. But I think having that student voice, it's great learning this leadership opportunity for them. But I think it also brings in traction. People, want to come to the meeting, hear from the students, and kind of that follow-up after, I think, maybe invites other people to come join because you're having some of these great conversations with the students in the meetings. So I've seen that.
Great, thanks, Mary.
Mike, I do have a challenge that's not up here. Could you help me understand why CSBA is not updated?
So the question is the California School Board Association's or their template is?
Model policy is not updated or reflective of what some of these changes are. And so school districts get very hesitant to want to change board policy specifically that is not
That template.
CSBA template. And so how do we navigate updating board policy that is not endorsed by CSBA or not updated by CSBA?
That is a great question, and I don't have an answer for that. I know. I mean, we used to work pretty closely with them, and yeah, and we don't anymore for various reasons. I know, right? Intrigued.
Okay, then one more other video I get on. Is there a difference in the eyes of the state, and I think I know the answer to the softball, specifically around the goals between the BP and the AR? Can you have, a lot of districts I think want the BP to be cleaner, simpler, less words, and then a lot more could be in the AR, but I get the sense that from a compliance standpoint, that's not what the state wants to see. Could you give us a little more on the compliance piece and what would suffice specifically in terms of an AR?
Sure.
Administrative review with the BP and the AR, the administrative regulation. That was AR 2-for-1. Wow.
That was like E-I-E-I-O. Were we talking about acronyms earlier? I know. No, it's okay. I'll paraphrase. So we have the board policy, BP, and that's usually what the board will look at and adopt. Generally speaking, in my experience, that has 50,000 foot level language. So you can't really take that document and implement anything because you have to drill down. And then the administrative regulations, not all school districts have, I've noticed, some do, maybe many do. That drills it down a little closer to something that's more tangible. So a board policy might say we are going to implement nutrition education in all of our K-6 schools, and that's what it might just say. And then the administrative regs might say we'll be using this program or these programs. Okay, so that's how that kind of works. When we come out and do the AR, I would say give us all your work, because the AR isn't the end point, right? We talked about work plans. So now you have a requirement for nutrition ed, you know what has to be taught, but how is it going to happen on the ground? So there's even more work to be done with that.
If you had a third policy, oh, it happens. If you had a third policy, would that somehow fit into that total complete package of following the rules?
So what do you mean by a third policy?
Do you want to add it?
So we have, in our district, we have a board policy, an administrative regulation, and then we have a wellness plan or policy that's the work of the wellness committee that details all of the things.
Okay.
So the BP, very high level, the AR, kind of high level, and then there's this working document that is our wellness policy and plan.
Gotcha.
And it's usually on a 3-year cycle.
Yeah.
It's a little over.
Yeah, I mean, I just learned about it today, but sure.
So
is it helpful to have that like multi-layer piece, or should something like that be in more of an administrative regulation or a board policy? Does it matter?
Are you talking more for us or for you guys?
All of you.
Okay. For us, I think that's overkill for what we have to review. But for you guys, again, it drills down to what actually has to happen, and it's easier to evaluate, it's easier to assess, and it's easier to make changes because you now have a more distinct reason for why something did work or didn't work. So.
First time today.
Happy reading. All right, so did we solve the world's problems? I know. Well, thank you for that discussion. You guys, you're successful. Regardless of where you are with your wellness policy, you are successful. And I want to make sure that you all know that and that we know that, and that the idea for this is to work towards health and wellness, however that looks in your district. To wrap up, resources. So we have that in your packet as well. So we have like the competitive foods email. We have a local school wellness policy email. Send us questions however you choose. We have a web page. We have some courses that you can do. They're recorded courses on our web page. You can look, again, if you want to geek out and see what the USDA's regulations are, we have that. We have the link to the California Local School Wellness Policy Collaborative, a wealth of information on wellness policies there. I would probably visit there before I visit our website. Did I say that out loud? And then again, the federal school wellness policy requirements are in those regulations. More homework. So for this page in your packet, it's just to kind of promote that thinking. And it starts at the beginning. What do I want to work on this year? Okay, it doesn't have to be everything that we talked about today. It could be one small piece of it. So the exercise that I'm asking maybe you to do again tonight over dinner or wherever, you can bring back to your wellness committee and start that as the process for what direction do you want your wellness policy to go this school year. There are your standard crediting, and we have 2 minutes and 47 seconds for questions. Go. And no questions is okay too. Yes.
Other than the AR, does anyone else look at the wellness policy?
Other than the AR, who looks at your wellness policy?
Yeah, so like do they at our website, and I know nothing about it, but we have like a Williams review or something?
Oh, yeah.
And they were coming through our kitchens.
Right.
And looking at everything we had posted. Do they look at that during that?
I do not believe they look at that. So yeah, there's no other authoritative body that's going to come in and assess your wellness policy. But, again, your community is going to look at it. Of course, your admin is going to look at it and all that. Okay? Remember, it's yours. It's not ours. It's yours. So I hope that you're doing this for you and not for us. Yes?
Who does look at that wellness policy is some parent who has insomnia at 3 a.m. and then comes to a board meeting and will call out something that they read on it. So we still have to post it and all those things, but that's why it's important to be able to speak to it, apparently find out about it, which some of us did today, so we've been in our position for a year, I love it here. And so that's why making sure that if the public has access to it, the public will read it. And they will come out of the woodwork at the oddest times. So what's up there, you best be doing, you best can speak to, you best can find, things like that. Because that's, besides the state who comes down, that's who reads it, is, for lack of a better term, parents with a lot of free time.
And what do we do with that parent? We invite them in. Would you like to be part of our wellness committee and you can make changes? Yes.
I would just add from a district administrator perspective, there's a lot of money flowing into lots of schools right now through ELOP, and one of the 5 pieces of ELOP is making healthy choices, as well as physical activity. And so I think there's a real opportunity to leverage that funding. I'm leveraging that funding in terms of after-school programs in the garden around nutrition. We're able to actually pay our classified food service staff members as nutrition experts, so they're getting $42 an hour to teach nutrition lessons to kids in expanded learning. It's a great partnership that
builds relationships for our kids with the ladies that they see in the window serving the food. So I definitely encourage you to reach out to whomever is in charge of your expanded learning program and try to leverage some of those pieces as well for nutrition.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. It's wonderful. Yeah. Money is always good, right? All right. Oh, yes.
The websites that you guys have mentioned, all the speakers, are we gonna find that through email, or how do you find it?
You should have a list of resources in your packet.
So the summit's website will have all the resources,
Okay.
and you will receive email, yes, all of them. Everything will be accessible.
We will flood you with
Most is
resources.
online now, but
All right.
when it's all said and done, it'll be up on the website. Yeah.
So thank you again. And again, I just want to say you are all my heroes. You are all very inspirational to the work that needs to be done because you are on the front lines every day. So thank you all for all of you.
Thank you, Mike. Mike Danzik, you are our hero. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for that presentation. Thank you for the education, but also thank you for igniting that really productive conversation amongst all of us, because everybody's coming from different districts, different areas, different nonprofits. So it's really, really helpful just that you kind of helped us move that conversation along and collaborate with each other. I have a winner for the raffle. And our next winner that was selected was Danica Hunt. Woo! How exciting.
I don't see her, but I know her.
Where is she? Oh, there she is. There's Danica.